Hello everybody and welcome to another one of my videos. Today it's going to be part 6 of making a very simple game subtitled Rock and Roll Mechanics. Well, roll mechanics obviously because last time that we were here we actually tried to implement it wasn't really rolling, it was more like falling in on an angle mechanics. And now rock because yeah, when the egg gets over here or over here or over here in these four spaces, it should immediately drop to the ground. To everybody who's just tuning in and hasn't seen any of the previous parts, this is me trying to make a hopefully succeeding to make a very simple game, an egg catcher game in Unity with 2D. Right, so what I'd like to get to finish today, because if you go on and look at how far we've come along, you'll see that we've got these eggs which spawn and very quickly drop down, which that is much too fast. So let's go ahead and sort that one out a bit. Now 60 pixels should also, I just remembered that last time we were here I forgot to actually modify the acceleration, the acceleration decrease. Now 20 times the screen width is way too much. Let's go for 5. That should be 4 times slower. Let's see if that makes a big difference. And the 60 pixels we also have to modify so that that's actually that's acceptable. No, that's still too fast. Let's go for half that. So let's go to 2 pixels times the screen width adjuster, and over here, so what we're trying to do is add to the old velocity the acceleration divided by 60. Why 60? Oh, it's because it's 60 times a second. Okay, so that's good. This actually doesn't need to be modified. So let's see if 2 pixels per second acceleration is, that actually looks doable, except for the fact that the angles are off and we need to work on how the eggs spawn, because this is clearly not interesting. I mean, it's starting to look a bit more interesting as we go on, but you guys know what I'm trying to say over here. Okay, so let's go ahead and see what we have to do in order to get these done properly. Now, one thing that I could do, but no, that's a bit too complicated, isn't it? Okay, so you know what? I'm going to do the most obvious and straightforward thing that I can, which is to get these helpers. These are the helpers, right? Yes, these are the helpers. Get the X and Y positions of these helpers, not by getting the objects, because that's not interesting at all. Or should we put a collider on them and also have a collider on the... Oh no, the first issue that I'm trying to solve over here is actually getting the eggs to roll in the proper direction, because we want them to reach the middle of these boxes over here. So that's 110 and 323, right? 515 and 110 again. And so we need to get the direction right, because at this moment, as it stands, I'm actually adding the same velocity, or adding and subtracting the same velocity to X and Y, which is obviously not correct. So what would I need to do? I'd need to apply an angle to it, right? So let's go ahead and see how Unity handles angles. Unity angle. Let's see how it vector to angle. But if I'm adding hard-coded angles in the game when there are different screen sizes, that won't work. That's going to mean that the eggs fly off in the in not the correct order, so to say. Is it time for me to start messing around with Unity objects, Unity components such as Physics 2D colliders, edge collider, platform effector, surface effector, spring joint slider. Body type is dynamic. Use auto mass. I'm curious what this does. Do they automatically fall now that I've added a widget body to them? Doesn't seem like it. Linear drag, angular gravity scale, collision, discrete. Okay, so if I would have had the time to investigate this and try it on my own, I probably would have had a better answer for you guys. But as it stands, that's not the case. Let me go ahead and remove this component. Maybe I can add something else that is interesting. 3D. Circular collider, offset, radius. Material. I can have materials? That's cool. This is definitely something that I should be getting into in the future. Does that affect the eggs in any way? Not that I see of. Okay, so let's go ahead and remove that one as well. Can actually put gravity but those wouldn't work if I were to put gravity points if they exist. Do they exist? Is there something like gravity? Oh, there's a terrain collider. That's interesting. Wait just 1 second. Can I actually... what is this? The floor. Where is the floor? Can I actually add something like that? Physics 2D. Box collider is trigger. No, I'm actually just going to stop trying to do this because there's no point in me trying to learn this as I'm doing everything right now. So that's just dumb. Let's just go ahead and continue with what I wanted to actually do. So it's probably more complicated, but you know, at least we'll learn a bit. So when the eggs spawn over here and I give them an offset to travel in this direction, there's an obvious angle that these ramps have, and that's like, where are the ramps? Here we go. That's like 62 degrees rotation over here and 76 over on the other side. So if the eggs were to follow this direction, the best thing that I could do probably is actually you know what, I think that I'm actually going to learn how to use gliders and make rigid bodies. Fuck it, let's do it live. Literally. Because I just came to the conclusion that if I want to try to use sinus, cosinus or tangent on trying to see which x and y thing should be used, then that would take me just too much time. And I do know for a fact that rigid bodies placed on top of each other with gravity can actually and should actually work in Unity. So let's just do that. Sorry that I didn't want to do it earlier, but you know, that's just how stubborn I am. So Unity, rigid platform, Unity 2D platformer, rigid body 2D. What is this? Oh, there's a cool tutorial. Should I watch this right now?
The rigid body 2D is a component that allows a game object to be affected by 2D physics. The game object must also have a Collider 2D component attached to interact with other game objects using 2D physics. A rigid body 2D is required when working with specialized 2D physics components.
Right, so probably what we want to do, first off, before we see we watch that any further, what I'd like to do is just make these ramps a bit less wide. So let's go for 25 on all of them. Not that it actually matters. It could be 1 pixel wide, if I'm not mistaken. Let's go for length here. Let's go for, I don't know, let's just say 625, 6 and 6, and let's put them a tad bit below the coup's objects, because the eggs spawn exactly in the middle of them. So what we'd like to have is actually a ramp that starts off like over here, so that the eggs slides on top of it. Let's go for -200 and see if that works. No, a bit more. -220, and on the x-axis -400, and then the coupe. I think we'll need. Oh, that's actually perfect. We'll just need to offset it more to the left, so -410, maybe. -410. Okay, that looks good now. Let's go ahead and copy these stats to the top right ramp as well. -410, -220. So this is 410 and -220. Good. So this is going to be the drop-off zone for the egg, and this is going to be the ramp, and then the same over here. That should line up. Yep, it does line up with the center. That looks good. And then let's go for the bottom ramps, which I think the bottom ramps are going to have to be a lot longer. Yes, let's go for 650 and -410, okay, or -450, and -500. That's too much, way too much. And the ramp is actually too long now. So we'll have to make the upper ramp a bit longer and the lower ramp shorter. So let's just go for 620, and then we'll have to get more on the X, actually less, minus 450. That's too much. Minus 430, and that's also too much on the Y, so let's go for minus 475. That actually looks pretty damn good. Although I think these ramps need a bit of a lower angle now. Okay, so let's go for 65. Yeah, whatever, that should look good enough. So minus 65. And for the bottom ones, so we have okay, whatever. Yep. So minus 430, 475, 430, minus 475. And I think the length is also, it's 620 right now. Okay, let's save that and see how it looks. Okay, maybe the top X are a bit too high up, a bit. But the bottom X should be okay, or maybe, I don't know. Good, so let's go ahead and add should I actually do this right now? You know what, guys, this is not something that should be streamed, so I'll just do it on my own, and I'll come back later when I figured it out or went through the steps. So stay tuned for part 2. This is going to be part 6. This is going to be 6.1, and we'll have most likely part 6.2 as well. So see you soon.